Tonight, we leave behind the grand tapestries of kings and queens, and instead, we seek out a quieter, more intimate story. We're journeying to a time when life was governed by the seasons and the sun, and romance was a language spoken not in grand pronouncements, but in stolen glances and small, secret gestures. We're exploring a forgotten courtship custom, one born of practicality and trust. So before you get too comfortable, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. I love hearing from you, so let me know in the comments where in the world you're listening from tonight. Now, find that perfect spot, let your shoulders relax, and allow the noise of your day to fade away. Let's travel back together, shall we? The air today carries the sweet, damp scent of turned earth and the promise of rain later. You can feel it in your bones, the way the old folks say they can. You are standing just outside the low stone wall that encloses your family's cottage garden, a wicker basket resting comfortably on your hip. The sun, though bright, is gentle on your skin, a late morning sun that warms without scorching. Your world is one of soft edges and familiar sounds. The distant rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer is the village's heartbeat. The lowing of cattle in the common pasture is its breath. And the peal of the church bell, marking the hour of terce, is its soul, a sound that washes over the thatched roofs and winding paths, reminding everyone of the steady, unwavering passage of time. It's a simple life, a predictable one, but it's yours. Your task this morning is a simple one: to gather fresh herbs for your mother. You pinch the tender leaves of thyme, their fragrance clinging to your fingertips. You move to the parsley, its feathery green a vibrant splash against the dark soil. Your movements are practiced, unthinking. You've done this 1,000 times. It's a rhythm, a dance you do with the seasons. Your world is small, contained by the rolling hills that cup the village like gentle hands. You know every path, every stone, every face. And because you know every face, a new one, or rather, a familiar one seen in a new light, stands out like a scarlet thread in a homespun blanket. You pause, your hand hovering over a cluster of sage, and you look up, across the village green. And that is when you see him. He is not a stranger, he is Rhys, the son of Dafydd the stonemason. You have seen him your whole life, at market, at church, at the edge of celebrations. But you have never truly seen him before, not like this. He is working with his father on the low wall that skirts the churchyard, replacing stones that have been loosened by a long, hard winter. The work is slow, deliberate. He is shirtless in the warm air, the muscles in his back and shoulders moving with a fluid grace that surprises you. There is no wasted motion. He lifts a heavy grey stone, tests its weight, and turns it in his hands, seeming to read its shape and texture with his palms. He finds its perfect place in the wall, settling it into a bed of fresh mortar with a quiet finality. It's this focus, this complete absorption in his task, that holds your gaze. The world around him seems to disappear. The chattering of geese waddling across the green, the laughter of children playing with hoops, the sharp cry of a circling hawk. None of it seems to touch him. He is in a world of stone and purpose. His hair, the colour of dark honey, has fallen across his brow, and he pushes it back with the side of his wrist, leaving a faint, dusty smudge on his temple. You find yourself smiling, a small, secret smile that no one else can see. It is a strangely endearing gesture. For all his strength, there is a youthfulness to him that you hadn't noticed before. This is the strange arithmetic of village life. You can know someone from birth, yet not know them at all. He has always just been Reese, one of the village boys. But today, in this particular slant of light, he is someone else entirely. Someone noteworthy. It's a shift so subtle you can't name it. A quiet click of a key turning in a lock you didn't even know was there. As a young, unmarried woman, your hair is worn in a simple, long braid down your back, a clear and public signal of your status. It's a custom so ingrained, you never think about it, any more than you think about breathing. But today, you feel a sudden consciousness of it, of the way it marks you, just as his focused labour marks him. You both have your place, your defined role in this small, interwoven world. And then, as if he can feel the weight of your stare, he stops. He places his trowel on the wall and slowly straightens, stretching his back, and he turns. His eyes, a clear, startling grey like the riverstones after a rain, scan the green. They pass over the gaggle of geese, over the children, over the cottage roofs, and for a breathtaking moment, they land on you. It is not a long look. It cannot be. Propriety would never allow for it. It's a glance, a flicker, no longer than a heartbeat. But it is enough. In that fraction of a second, there is a spark of recognition, a silent acknowledgement that passes between you across the open space. His expression doesn't change, not in a way anyone else would notice. There is no broad smile, no wave. But you see it. A stillness comes over him, a subtle shift from his public work to this private, fleeting connection. Your own heart gives a sudden, betraying lurch. A warmth rushes up your neck and spreads across your cheeks. And you are grateful for the distance between you, hoping it obscures your blush. You break the gaze first, of course. You must. You drop your eyes back to your basket, suddenly fascinated by the pattern of the woven wicker. Your fingers, which a moment ago were so sure, now feel clumsy as you pluck a few more leaves of sage. Your ears are ringing slightly. It was nothing. It was a glance. He was simply looking around. You tell yourself these things, but the feeling persists. It lingers in the air, a hum of unspoken energy. It was the kind of look that changes the shape of an ordinary day, turning it into something memorable. You risk one more peek from beneath your lashes. He has already turned back to his work, his focus once again on the stones. It is as if the moment never happened, and yet, you know it did. The world feels different now, brighter. The blacksmith's hammer sounds more cheerful. The scent of the herbs in your basket, more pungent. You gather the last of what you need, your mind replaying that single, silent exchange. One can only imagine how many romances have begun not with a poem or a song, but with a single shared glance across a sun-drenched village green. Weeks have passed since that morning on the green. The image of Reese, dusty and focused, has become a quiet companion to your daily thoughts. It returns to you at unexpected moments, when you draw water from the well, when you stir the pot over the hearth, when you lie in your bed at night, listening to the familiar sounds of the sleeping house. You've seen him since, of course, in the passing, ordinary ways of village life. A nod at Sunday service, a fleeting glimpse as he and his father walk home from their work. Each time, that same silent current of acknowledgement flows between you. It is a fragile thread, easily broken, but it is there, a promise of a story waiting to be told. And today, the world itself seems to be celebrating that promise. Today is the Lammas Fair. The entire village, and others from miles around, have converged on the wide fields just beyond the church. The air, which is usually filled with the scent of grass and livestock, is now thick with 100 new fragrances. There's the rich, savoury smell of a whole hog turning on a spit, its skin crackling and glistening. There's the sweet, heady aroma of spiced mead and warm ale being ladled from great barrels. And underneath it all, the dusty, trodden earth smell of 1,000 feet moving in joyful celebration. The sounds are a tapestry woven from 12 different threads. A minstrel sings a lively tune on his lute, his voice competing with the shouts of merchants selling everything from bright woolen cloth to iron pots and pans. Children shriek with delight as they chase a ribbon-tailed pig, and the thud of arrows hitting straw targets at the archery butts provides a steady rhythm to the happy chaos. You are here with your family, officially, to help your mother sell the honey and beeswax candles she is so well known for. Your small stall is tucked between a boisterous seller of leather belts and a quiet woman displaying delicate lace. But while your hands are busy arranging the honey pots into neat little pyramids, your eyes are not. They are scanning, searching the swirling river of people. You are looking for a flash of dark honey-coloured hair, for a pair of shoulders that know the weight of stone. It's a hopeful, anxious search, and you feel a little thrill of rebellion in it, a secret purpose that is yours alone. Your mother, noticing your distraction, gives you a knowing, gentle smile but says nothing. Some things, it seems, need no words between a mother and daughter. And then you see him. He is standing with a group of other young men near the wrestling ring, a clay mug of ale in his hand. He is laughing at something one of his friends has said, his head thrown back. The sound of his laughter doesn't quite reach you over the din, but you can see it in the crinkle of his eyes. He is wearing a clean linen tunic, the simple kind worn for a festival day, and he looks different than he did at his work, more relaxed, younger even. As if summoned by your gaze, his eyes lift and find yours across the crowd, just like that day on the green. The smile on his face softens, changing from one of amusement to one of quiet recognition, meant only for you. It's a small, private signal in a sea of public celebration. You feel that familiar blush rise and quickly look down at your honey pots, a shy smile of your own playing on your lips. This is the beginning of the day's dance, a silent language spoken across the crowded fairgrounds. For the next few hours, this is how you communicate. It's a game of near approaches and fleeting glances. You wander over to the ribbon seller, pretending to be captivated by a bolt of sky blue silk, knowing that his path from the wrestling ring to the archery butts will take him right past you. As he walks by, his friends jostling and talking loudly, his eyes meet yours for just a moment longer than is strictly necessary. It's a question and an answer in one look. You are here. I am here. This is good. Later, while your father is engaged in a long conversation about the price of wool, you are sent to fetch water to mix with the dregs of the mead. As you walk toward the stream at the edge of the field, you see him there, rinsing his clay mug. It's a moment of startling coincidence that feels anything but. For a few heartbeats, you are the closest you have ever been, close enough to see the droplets of water clinging to his eyelashes, close enough to speak, but you are not alone. His friends are waiting just up the bank, and your mother's eyes are on you from the stall, so you do not speak. Instead, you dip your bucket into the cool running water, your movements slow and deliberate. He straightens up, and as you pass each other, your arms almost brush. The space between you crackles with unspoken words. This strange, constrained courtship is an odd custom, born of a world that demands propriety above all else, a world where a near touch can feel as intimate as a kiss. The day wears on, painted in these small, charged moments. You watch him try his hand at the archery contest. He doesn't win, That honor goes to a grim-faced forester, but you admire the steady way he draws the bowstring, his focus absolute. He, in turn, sees you laughing with your mother, and the look he gives you is warm and approving. It's as if you were slowly building a house, not with stone and mortar, but with these shared glances, laying a foundation of mutual observation and quiet admiration. It's a language with no words, a story told in lingering looks and hesitant smiles. As the sun begins to dip below the hills, casting long shadows across the field, the fair's boisterous energy mellows. A great bonfire is lit in the centre of the green, its flames leaping orange and gold into the twilight. Families gather around its warmth, their faces glowing in the flickering light. The minstrel now plays a slower, more mournful ballad. In the shifting crowds, you find yourself momentarily separated from your family, standing near the edge of the fire's light. And he is there too, a few feet away. The space around you feels strangely quiet, insulated from the rest of the fair. This is the moment, the culmination of the day's silent dance. He looks at you, his face serious in the firelight. There is no smile now, just a look of profound, undisguised interest. He gives a single, small nod. It is a gesture of immense weight, a confirmation of everything that has passed between you today. It says, "This is real. I will do this the right way." You lower your eyes and give an almost imperceptible nod in return. "I know." Your mother calls your name then, her voice pulling you back to your world. It is time to pack up the last of the candles and go home. As you walk away, you don't look back. You don't need to. The memory of that final firelit gaze is enough. One might think it a sad thing to spend a whole day so close to someone and never exchange a single word. But it was far from empty. A single glance, after all, can sometimes hold an entire conversation. In the days that follow the Lammas Fair, the world settles back into its familiar, soothing rhythm. The excitement fades, the visitors leave, and the village returns to itself. Yet, for you, something has irrevocably shifted. The air itself seems to hold a quiet hum of anticipation. That final firelit nod from Reese was not an ending, but the turning of a page. You perform your daily chores with a new sense of purpose, a secret awareness blooming in your chest. When you knead bread, you feel the echo of his strength. When you watch the setting sun paint the sky, you remember the glow of the bonfire on his face. This silent conversation that began across the green has found its grammar, and you find yourself waiting, with a patience you didn't know you possessed, for the next sentence. It comes on an ordinary afternoon, one that smells of clean laundry, drying on the gooseberry bushes, and the rich scent of a simmering pottage. You are sitting on the bench just outside your cottage door, mending one of your father's shirts, the rough wool familiar beneath your fingers. Your younger brother Tom, a whirlwind of scuffed knees and boundless energy, comes tearing around the side of the cottage. He skids to a halt before you, his face flushed from some game involving sticks and stones. "Reese gave me this," he says, panting, and thrusts a small wooden object into your hand. "He was by the old oak. He said it was a pretty piece of carving and that I should give it to you." Tom, already distracted by a passing butterfly, delivers this momentous message with the casual indifference of a 7-year-old, then darts away before you can ask a single question. And you are left sitting there, your mending forgotten in your lap, staring at the object resting in your palm. It's a spoon, but it's unlike any spoon you have ever seen. It's not the simple, functional utensil your family uses for meals. This is something else entirely. It's carved from a single piece of pale, fine-grained wood. Hawthorn, you think. with its reputation for magic and matters of the heart. The wood is sanded so smooth it feels like polished stone, warm and alive against your skin. It is impossibly delicate, a work of art, clearly made by a hand that is both strong and patient, a hand that knows how to shape things with painstaking care. You look around, but the path is empty. Your mother is inside, and your father is still in the fields. You are alone with this secret. You lift the spoon, turning it over and over. It's a love spoon. You've heard of them, of course. They are an old tradition, a way for a young man to show his intentions and display his skill. It is a tangible question, a formal declaration that requires a response. It's one thing to exchange glances at a fair. It is another thing entirely to be given a gift like this. This small piece of wood changes everything. Your eyes trace the intricate carvings that adorn the handle, and you feel as if you are learning to read a new language. The language Reese has written for you. At the very top are two delicate, interlocking circles, a wooden chain that seems impossible to have been carved from a single piece. The meaning is unmistakable, a desire to be joined together, to be linked. Your finger follows the handle down. Below the chain, a small perfect wheel is carved. A wheel for a wheelwright, a net for a fisherman, a stone for a mason. He is promising to work for you, to provide for you, to build a life with his hands. Your heart gives a little flutter at this solemn, silent vow. And then, in the centre of the handle, is a small, intricately carved panel shaped like a keyhole. It is so detailed you can almost imagine a tiny key fitting inside it. My house is yours, it seems to say. You hold the key to my security, to my heart. This is perhaps the most audacious symbol of all, a clear and direct reference to a shared home, a future. Your gaze finally falls to the bowl of the spoon itself. It is not a deep bowl for eating, but a shallow, graceful scoop, and nestled inside it, carved right into the wood, is a single, simple heart. Love. It is the foundation upon which all the other promises are built. You sit there for a long time, the weight of the spoon in your hand feeling far greater than its physical size. This is not the fleeting, thrilling uncertainty of the fairgrounds. This is a solid, real thing, a declaration, a verifiable historical fact in your own life. He has spent hours on this, you realize, days perhaps. The thought of him sitting alone, carefully coaxing these shapes from the wood, for you. It fills you with a profound and humbling tenderness. This is his voice, speaking more clearly than words ever could. When you finally go back inside, you try to hide the spoon in the pocket of your apron, but your mother's eyes miss nothing. She sees the flush on your cheeks and the way you hold yourself, as if you are protecting something precious. "What is it you have there, daughter?" she asks gently, her hands still busy with her baking. You hesitate, then slowly pull out the spoon and lay it on the scrubbed wooden table between you. She picks it up, her expression unreadable at first. She examines the carvings with a practiced eye, her fingers tracing the same path yours did. She turns it over, feels its weight. A long silence hangs in the air, filled only by the crackle of the fire. You hold your breath. Finally, she sets it down and looks at you, and a slow, warm smile spreads across her face. A light, knowing smile. "Well," she says, her voice soft. It seems Dafydd's son has learned more from his father than just how to set stones. She doesn't need to say anything else. She understands completely. She recognizes the symbols, the tradition, the gravity of the gift. She knows that your quiet, girlish daydreams have just stepped out into the light, demanding to be seen. The time for silent glances is over. A formal question has been asked, and now a formal answer must be prepared. One can only wonder at the silent strength of a tradition that can place the weight of a whole future into a single, beautifully carved piece of wood. The hawthorn spoon now lives in the small wooden chest at the foot of your bed, nestled between your mother's wedding veil and the linen shift you were baptized in. It is too precious, too significant, to be left out in the open. Yet, its presence is felt throughout the cottage. It is an invisible guest at the table, a silent participant in every conversation. The secret you held in your heart has become a family matter, spoken of in low, serious tones after you and your brother have gone to bed. You showed it to your father the evening it was given. He took it from you, his calloused hands, so used to the plough and the axe, looking oversized and clumsy, holding such a delicate thing. He did not smile as your mother had. He turned it over, his brow furrowed in concentration. He recognized the symbols, not as poetry, but as a contract. He saw the promise of work in the wheel, the pledge of a home in the keyhole. For him, this was not about romance. It was about responsibility. He handed it back to you with a grunt and said nothing more. But the air in your home had changed, charged with the weight of an impending decision. A few days later, your father returns from the market, his expression stern. He does not look at you as he speaks, directing his words to your mother. David the mason was at the market, he says, unlacing his boots by the fire. His son will call upon us, Thursday, after the evening meal. It is a proclamation, not a point of discussion. Thursday. The word hangs in the air, a milestone planted firmly in the middle of your quiet week. The time for waiting is over. The time for ritual has begun. Thursday arrives on a wave of nervous energy. The entire day is a prelude to the evening. The cottage is swept and scrubbed until it shines. A fresh layer of rushes, smelling sweetly of mint and meadowsweet, is laid upon the floor. You help your mother bake small oatcakes with precious honey, and a piece of salted bacon is set aside to be boiled, a luxury for such an occasion. You are instructed to change into your best kirtle, the deep green wool, one you normally only wear to Easter service. You braid your hair with extra care, weaving in a simple linen ribbon. Every action is deliberate, weighted with significance. You are all players in a small domestic drama, preparing the stage for the crucial scene. You try to keep your hands busy with your spinning, but the thread keeps snapping, your fingers clumsy with nerves. It's a strange and slightly comical feeling, this flurry of activity for a visitor who is not yet a suitor, but who is formally asking to become one. As dusk settles, painting the sky in shades of lavender and rose, a respectful call comes from the open doorway. "Good evening to this house." It's Reese's voice, but it sounds different, deeper and more formal than you've ever heard it. Your father, who has been sitting silently by the fire, rises to his feet. "Enter and be welcome," he says, his own voice a low rumble. Reese steps over the threshold, and your breath catches in your throat. He is not alone. His father, David, a man as solid and weathered as the stones he works with, is with him. This is more serious than you even imagined. For his father to accompany him is a sign of the utmost respect and sincerity. Both men are dressed in their finest tunics, their faces scrubbed clean, their hair damp and neatly combed. Reese's eyes find yours for only a fleeting second, but it is enough. You see the same nervousness you feel reflected there, a vulnerability that makes your heart ache for him. He looks so young, so earnest, standing before your father. Your mother quietly gestures for you to help her, and you move about the room, pouring mugs of ale, your movements a shield for your turmoil. This is the custom. The women become silent observers, facilitators, while the men conduct the business of the family's future. You sit on a small stool by the hearth, your head bowed over your lap, pretending to be utterly absorbed in the texture of your woolen dress. But you are listening with every fibre of your being. The conversation begins slowly, with talk of the weather, the harvest, the health of the king. It is a careful dance of pleasantries, each man taking the measure of the other. Then, Dafydd clears his throat, and the room falls silent save for the crackling fire. "My son, Rhys," he begins, his voice steady, "is a good worker. He has learned the mason's craft well. He is ready to think of his own hearth, his own family." He pauses, letting the words settle. "He holds your daughter, Ellen, in high esteem. He has asked our permission to come here tonight to ask for yours, for the right to court her, properly and with honour. Your name, spoken aloud in this context, makes you feel both intensely visible and completely powerless. You risk a glance at Rhys. He is looking at your father, his expression unwavering, his jaw set with determination. He is not a boy playing a game. He is a man making a pledge. Your father takes a long drink of his ale, his eyes fixed on the fire. He is in no hurry to answer. This is his role, his right, to test the mettle of the young man who wishes to join his family. "She is my only daughter," he says finally, his voice rough with an emotion you rarely hear. "Her worth is more than stone or wool. A man who courts her must have more than just skill. He must have character. He must be steady and God-fearing and kind." "He is all of those things," Rhys says, speaking for the first time. His voice is tight with nerves but clear. "I would work my hands to the bone for her. I would build her a good, strong house. I would honour her and you, all my days." The silence that follows is the longest of your life. The fate of the glances, the fare, the love spoon. It all hangs suspended in this single moment, in the quiet consideration of your father. He looks from Rhys to Dafydd, and then, for a long moment, his eyes rest on you. He sees you sitting there, the very picture of a dutiful daughter, and something in his expression softens. "The courtship may begin," he says, his voice low but decisive. "It will be a proper one. Here, in this house, under our eyes. There will be no foolishness." He looks directly at Rhys. "You have my blessing to try and win her heart. But know that it is her heart, not just my permission, that you must earn." The tension in the room breaks like a snapped string. Dafydd smiles, a rare and welcome sight. Rhys lets out a breath he seems to have been holding all evening, his shoulders slumping in relief. The rest of the visit is a blur of lighter talk, of your mother bringing out the warm oatcakes, of a shared feeling of resolution. When Rhys and his father finally leave, their goodbyes formal and respectful, the cottage feels both larger and emptier. Your father turns to you, his expression stern once more, but his eyes are not unkind. "It is settled then," he says. And in that simple statement, you understand the profound shift that has occurred. What was once a private flutter of the heart has now been given a name and a place, drawn into the sturdy, unyielding circle of family and tradition. The days that follow your father's blessing settle into a new and sacred rhythm. The wild, uncertain hope of the Lammas Fair has been replaced by a quiet, structured reality. Twice a week, as the evenings begin to draw in and the first hints of autumn crisp the air, Rhys comes to your cottage. He arrives just as the last light fades, and he leaves when the church bell chimes for compline. The final prayers of the day. This is the new shape of your life, a courtship conducted entirely within the warm, watchful circle of your family's hearth. There is an initial awkwardness to these visits that is almost comical. You and he are permitted to sit together on the long wooden bench by the fire, but the space between you feels a mile wide. Your mother is always nearby, her spinning wheel humming a soft, constant song. Your father sits at the table, methodically sharpening his tools or carving a peg for a new gate, his silence a formidable presence. And your little brother Tom, blissfully unaware of the delicate social dance being performed, is a constant, unpredictable whirlwind, apt to demand a story or show off a new frog at the most inopportune moments. Privacy is a luxury that does not exist in a two-room cottage, and so your romance must learn to breathe in public air. Your conversations are, by necessity, a performance for the gallery. You speak of safe things. He tells you about the progress on the new retaining wall he and his father are building for the Reeve, describing the challenge of finding stones that fit just so. You, in turn, tell him about the harvest from your garden, the success of the beans, the disappointing size of the onions. You talk about the weather, the village gossip, a sick cow in the next pasture. It is a script of polite, everyday matters. But beneath the surface of these simple words, a deeper conversation is taking place. It is there in the way his eyes soften when you laugh at one of your brother's antics. It's in the way your own voice grows gentler when you ask him if his day was hard. It's in the shared, secret smile you exchange when your father grunts his approval of a point Reese makes about the need for a new church roof. Sometimes, to ease the stiltedness of pure conversation, your mother will give you a shared task. One evening, you are given a large wooden bowl of dried peas to shell for the winter stores. You sit side by side, your shoulders almost touching, as you work in companionable silence. Your fingers move in rhythm, splitting the dry pods, pushing the small hard peas into a clay pot. In these quiet moments, the connection between you feels strongest. There is no need to perform. There is just the soft rustle of the pea pods, the warmth of the fire on your faces, and the simple comfort of being together. During one of these evenings, he speaks of the love spoon, He doesn't mention it directly as a gift of courtship, but as a piece of work. The hawthorn wood was difficult, he says, his voice low, ostensibly speaking to your father, but his eyes on you. It's a hard wood, and twists as it dries. You have to be patient with it. You have to follow its nature, not force it. And you understand he is not just talking about woodworking. He is talking about this courtship. He is talking about patience and honor and letting things unfold in their own time. It is a beautiful coded message, and it makes your heart swell with affection for this thoughtful, steady man. One evening, as the scent of burning applewood fills the cottage, your mother looks up from her mending. She gazes at the two of you sitting on the bench, then gives a little nod, a look of decision on her face. The bees will need to be told, she says simply. It is an old, old custom, one so ancient no one remembers its origin. The bees, the keepers of sweetness and life, must be kept abreast of all important family news. A birth, a death, a marriage. To neglect them is to risk them flying away, taking the luck of the house with them. This announcement from your mother is a public acknowledgement within the family. It is her way of saying that this courtship is now a significant event, worthy of being shared with the most important members of the household. She hands you a small piece of honey cake, wrapped in a linen cloth. Go on, she says, herding you gently towards the door. Tell them the news. Do it properly. It is a gift of a few moments alone, a rare and precious thing. You step out into the cool moonlit garden, Reese following behind you. The world is bathed in silver and shadow. You walk to the far end of the garden, where the straw bee skeps sit in a neat row, their low hum a sleepy vibration in the night air. You stand before the largest skep, the honey cake in your hand. You feel a little shy, performing this ritual in front of him. "What do I say?" you whisper. "You just tell them," he murmurs, his voice a warm presence beside you in the dark. You tell them there is a new happiness in the house. You lean close to the small opening of the hive, the scent of wax and honey rising to meet you. In a low, soft voice, you begin to speak. You tell them about Reese, son of Daffod. You tell them of his honourable intentions. You tell them of your father's blessing. You speak of the hope for a future, a joining of two families. As you speak, you feel the strangeness of the custom melt away, replaced by a sense of profound rightness. You are weaving your own story into the fabric of tradition, into the very life of the land. When you finish, you crumble a small piece of the honey cake and leave it on the landing board of the skep as an offering. You stand there together in the moonlight for a moment in a comfortable, unbroken silence. And for the first time, there are no watching eyes, no listening ears, just the gentle hum of the bees and the vast, starry sky above. The intimacy of this shared, secret ritual is more powerful than any public declaration. It is a moment of pure, unadorned connection. One begins to understand that true intimacy isn't always found in grand passions or stolen kisses, but can be quietly cultivated in the most constrained of circumstances, growing strong and deep like a plant in a walled garden. The rhythm of Reese's visits continues as summer's golden light gives way to the soft, melancholic gold of autumn. The leaves on the great oak tree on the green turn from green to rust to a brilliant, fiery crimson. The evenings arrive sooner, cloaking the village in an early twilight, and they bring with them a distinct chill that whispers of the winter to come. The warmth of the hearth fire becomes less a comfort and more a necessity. Your supervised conversations with Reese continue, the initial awkwardness having bloomed into a comfortable familiarity. You have learned the cadence of his speech, the way his eyes light up when he speaks of his craft, the quiet humour that lurks beneath his serious demeanour. He, in turn, has learned your gentle ways, your quick smile, your thoughtful silences. A new problem, however, has arisen with the changing season, the journey home. His cottage is on the far side of the village, a not insignificant walk in the darkness. One evening, a sudden cold rain begins to fall, lashing against the wooden shutters. When the time comes for Reese to leave, he pulls his woolen cloak tightly around himself and steps out into the miserable night. You watch from the doorway as he disappears into the black, windswept dark, and a shiver of worry runs through you. Your father grumbles into the fire. It is a poor night for a walk, a foolish one even. The practicalities of life, as they always do, are beginning to press against the edges of your carefully constructed courtship. The next afternoon, your grandmother comes to visit. She settles herself in the chair closest to the fire, her joints aching from the damp, her sharp, clever eyes missing nothing. Your mother is at her loom, and you are carding wool. The repetitive motion of pulling the wire-tooth paddles across the fleece both soothing and monotonous. After the usual exchange of village news, your grandmother lets out a little harumph. "That fine young stonemason of yours," she begins, her voice raspy with age. "He'll be frozen solid or washed away down the stream if he keeps making that journey every second night through the winter." You stop your carding, your cheeks growing warm. You look to your mother, but she keeps her eyes on her weaving, though you notice her hands have stilled. It is a worry, your mother agrees quietly. A worry with a simple answer, your grandmother declares, leaning forward conspiratorially. An old answer, a sensible one. She fixes her gaze on you. In my day, we didn't waste firewood keeping the whole house awake while a suitor sat shivering. Nor did we send a good lad out into a blizzard. We had the courting quilt. The courting quilt. The phrase is new to you, and it sends a jolt of alarm and curiosity through you. Your grandmother sees the confusion and blush on your face and gives a dry chuckle. Oh, don't look so scandalized, child. It's not what your innocent mind is imagining. It's a matter of practicality, and a great test of honor, besides. She proceeds to explain the custom, one she speaks of not as a whispered secret, but as a completely logical, time-honored tradition. The custom of bundling. When a courtship was serious and the weather turned foul or the nights grew too long and cold, it was permitted for the couple to bundle together for warmth and conversation. You save peat for the fire, she explains, ticking the points off on her wrinkled fingers. You save the lad a dangerous journey, and, she adds with a twinkle in her eye, you finally get to have a conversation without your father sharpening his axe in the corner. You are speechless, your mind racing to comprehend the implications. Sharing a bed. The idea is so intimate, so far beyond the boundaries of your structured courtship, that you can barely form a thought. Now, your grandmother says, sensing your shock. There are rules, strict rules. This isn't some tavern foolishness. You're both fully clothed, mind you, in your warmest nightclothes, and down the center of the bed goes a bundling board, or a great thick bolster, a mountain between you, she cackles. My mother used to say you could drive a cart and pony down the middle of the bed, and neither of you would notice. She describes it as a trial. It was a way for a family to test a young man's character. He was being invited into the heart of the home, into its most private spaces, and trusted not to abuse that invitation. To break the rules of bundling was to prove yourself dishonorable, untrustworthy, and certainly not fit for marriage. A man who cannot respect a bolster cannot be trusted with a daughter, she says, her voice suddenly serious. It's as simple as that. It separates the true men from the feckless boys. You look at your mother. Her face is thoughtful. It is an old way, she says softly, finally looking at you. And it requires a great deal of trust. We believe Rhys to be an honourable man. And we trust you, Ellen, to be a sensible girl. Her words, full of quiet confidence, mean more to you than even your grandmother's blunt practicality. This is not being pushed upon you. It is being presented as a new phase of your journey together, one built on the foundation of character you have so carefully observed by the hearth fire. The conversation shifts to other things, but the idea has been planted. It takes root in your mind, a seed of nervous anticipation. The thought is both terrifying and thrilling. To be that close to him, to share the warmth of a bed, to speak in true whispers in the deep quiet of the night, separated only by a length of wood. It would be an intimacy far deeper than any you have yet known, an intimacy of shared breath and quiet trust in the darkness. It was as if a door had been opened to a room in your own house that you never knew existed, and you were now being solemnly invited to step across the threshold. The decision, once made by the women of the house, must be sanctioned by the men. The following Sunday, after the church service, your father walks with Daffyd across the green. You watch them from a distance, two serious figures, their heads bowed together in conversation. You cannot hear their words, but you know their substance. They speak of the coming winter, of tradition, of trust, and of character. They speak of Reese and of you. It is a formal negotiation of intimacy, a public acknowledgement of a private matter. Later that day, your father informs you, with his usual gruff economy of words, that the arrangement is made. The custom of bundling is to be observed, beginning when the first hard frost arrives. On his next visit, Reese seems different. There is a new gravity about him, a solemnity in his eyes. The knowledge of what is to come sits between you on the bench, a silent, invisible presence. Towards the end of the evening, as he prepares to leave, he speaks not to you, but to your father. "Sir," he says, his voice clear and steady, "your mother spoke of a bolster or an old board, but such a custom, born of trust and honour, deserves a proper tool. With your permission, I would like to fashion a new bundling board for the purpose." Your father looks up, surprised, from the harness he is mending. He studies Reese for a long moment. You can see the respect dawning in his eyes. This is a language your father understands perfectly, the language of craftsmanship, of taking a job seriously, of building something to last. "That is a good thought, lad," he says, giving a slow, approving nod. "A very good thought. See that you do it well." And so, Reese begins his work. You do not see him up close, for that would be too forward, but you see him from a distance as you go about your errands in the village. He does not work on it in secret. He works in the open yard beside his cottage, the same space where he and his father cut and shape stone. He has chosen a long, thick plank of seasoned oak, a wood known for its strength and endurance. The colour is deep and rich, the grain straight and true. One afternoon, as you are returning from gathering fallen branches for kindling, you pause by the hedgerow that separates your path from his yard. You watch him, unseen. He has the plank set across 2 trestles, and he is working a hand plane along its length. The sound is rhythmic and soothing, a long whispering shh as a perfect paper-thin curl of wood peels away, followed by the soft clatter of him tapping the plane to set the blade again. He works with that same deep, quiet concentration that you first saw on the day you watched him by the churchyard wall. His brow is furrowed. His movements are economical and sure. He is not just smoothing a piece of wood. He is investing it with his intention. You find yourself smiling. He is putting as much care and effort into creating this barrier as he put into carving the delicate, intricate love spoon. The spoon was a question, a poem in wood. This board is an oath. It is his honour, made tangible. It is a promise to your father and to you that he will respect the profound trust being given to him. The village gossips, you think, would have a field day if they knew what he was so diligently building. A wall to put in a bed between himself and his intended. It sounds like the setup for a bawdy song, but as you watch him, you know it is anything but. It is a sacred act. He spends several days on it. After planning it to a glassy smoothness, he carefully sands every edge, ensuring there are no splinters, no roughness. Then, with a fine-bladed knife, the same one he likely used for the spoon, he adds a simple, final touch. It is not an elaborate carving, for this is an object of principle, not of decoration. At the head and foot of the board, he carves a single small chamomile flower. You recognize it from the plants your mother grows for calming teas. Chamomile, the herb of patience and rest. It is a secret message of gentle reassurance, a quiet acknowledgement of the strange and unique situation you are about to enter. The day he brings it is a crisp, clear evening. The sky a deep, cold blue. The first true frost is expected that night. He doesn't bring it like a gift, but like a tool for a job. He carries it easily under his arm and leans it against the doorframe before he even steps inside. It is beautiful. It is taller than you are and as wide as your two hands. The oak glows with a soft sheen from the beeswax he must have polished it with, and the small carved flowers are a touch of unexpected grace. Your father rises to inspect it. He runs his hand down the smooth, flat surface. He taps it with his knuckles, listening to the solid, resonant sound. He nods, his face impassive, but you can see the deep approval in his eyes. "You've done a fine job," he says. "This is good, honest work." The board is brought inside and leaned against the wall near the hearth. It stands there like a silent wooden sentinel, a symbol of everything this courtship has become. It is a testament to tradition, to patience, to a young man's honour and a father's trust. It is a strange paradox, this object. You can't help but think of how this solid plank of oak, a thing designed expressly to keep you and Reese apart, is the very instrument that will finally allow you to be truly, quietly together. The world outside your window is silent and silver. The first hard frost of the season has arrived, painting every blade of grass, every bare branch, with a delicate, crystalline coating. The air is sharp and clean in your lungs, and your breath plumes in front of you in a white cloud. Today is the day. The arrangement, spoken of in whispers and then in solemn negotiation, will become real. Tonight, Reese will not make the cold journey home. He will stay. The bundling board he fashioned stands propped against the wall by the hearth, a quiet, constant reminder of the evening to come. A nervous energy, like a fluttering bird, has taken residence in your chest. After the midday meal, your mother catches your eye and gives a slight nod towards the small alcove at the far end of the main room. This is where guests sleep, a space separated from the main living area by a heavy wool curtain. It is not your bed, nor your parents'. It is neutral ground. "Come," she says softly. It is time to prepare the courting bed. Her use of the formal name for it sends another little shiver through you, one that has nothing to do with the cold. You follow her behind the curtain into the small, chilly space. There is a simple wooden bed frame, its base a lattice of tautly stretched ropes. The air smells of cold stone and dried herbs. Your mother pulls back the existing blankets, and together you begin the ritual. First, you take hold of the flock mattress, a heavy canvas sack filled with clean, dry straw. It's a cumbersome thing, and you both grunt with the effort of lifting it, turning it, and shaking it to redistribute the stuffing. The rustling sound fills the small space. As you work, you can smell the faint, sweet scent of the dried chamomile and lavender your mother layered into the straw to keep it fresh and deter fleas. It's a comforting, domestic scent in the midst of your soaring nerves. Next come the linens. You fetch the clean sheets from the chest. They are of a coarse, heavy hempen cloth, what your grandmother calls hempen homespun. They are not soft, like the linens of a great lady, but they are immaculately clean, smelling of soapwort and the fresh air they dried in. Your mother takes 2 corners of the bottom sheet, and you take the other 2, pulling it tight across the mattress and tucking the edges firmly under. Your movements are synchronized, a familiar dance you have done countless times. But today, every gesture feels weighted with meaning. As you work, your mother begins to speak, her voice low and even, a calm counterpoint to your inner turmoil. This is her role now, to pass the oral tradition of this custom on to you. Your grandmother is right, she begins, her eyes on her task. This is a test of character, his and yours. The board is a boundary. It is a line of respect. He does not cross it, and you do not cross it. It is as simple and as serious as that. You smooth your hand over the rough sheet, nodding, unable to speak. The purpose of this, she continues, laying a heavy wool blanket over the sheet, is not sleep. It is talk. The fire will be banked. The house will be quiet. There will be no listening ears. It is a chance for you to speak of things you cannot speak of in the daylight. Hopes, fears, silly thoughts. It is a time to learn the shape of his heart, and for him to learn yours. Do not waste it with foolishness. She looks at you then, her expression full of a fierce, protective love. There is nothing to be afraid of. An honourable man will only show his honour more clearly in such a situation. And your father and I are right through that curtain. The peace of this house rests with you both tonight. Her words calm the fluttering bird in your chest. She is not just giving you rules. She is giving you strength. She is trusting you. Finally, you lay out the last quilt. It is the one your grandmother spoke of. The courting quilt. It is an ancient, heavy thing, made of dozens of patches of dark wool, so densely stitched it feels as stiff as a board itself. You and your mother share a small, knowing look as you spread it out, a moment of shared female understanding that spans a generation. Now, for the final, crucial step. Fetch the board, your mother says. You return to the main room and retrieve the oak board Reese made. It feels solid and cool to the touch. You carry it carefully, its weight a reassurance. Together, you and your mother lift it. You feel the smooth, polished surface under your palms, the delicate carving of the chamomile flower, a secret message of patience. You position it precisely in the centre of the bed, pressing it down firmly into the straw mattress, which groans under the weight. It stands tall and straight, a stark, unmoving spine, dividing the bed into two distinct halves. The effect is startling. It no longer looks like a place of shared rest, but one of disciplined separation. You tuck the courting quilt in on both sides, the board creating a high, firm ridge down the very middle. The bed is now two narrow troughs, two separate cocoons. You stand back with your mother, your hands on your hips, and survey your work. The bed is made, the stage is set. It is a strange and solemn thing to see, a single bed that has been so deliberately and carefully prepared for two separate souls. The evening progresses much like all the others, yet entirely unlike them. You sit by the hearth, and Reese tells your father about a difficult keystone he set that day, and you talk about salting cabbage for the winter. But every word is an echo, every gesture a shadow play against the backdrop of the knowledge of what is to come. The bundling board, leaning against the wall, seems to absorb the firelight, glowing with a quiet intensity. You are acutely aware of every tick of the water clock, every log that shifts and settles in the fire. When the church bell finally begins to toll for Compline, the sound is a deep, resonant summons. The ordinary part of the evening is over. Your father makes a great show of stretching and yawning. The frost has settled deep tonight, he announces to the room at large. Time for all good folk to be abed. He takes the iron poker and carefully banks the fire, pushing the glowing logs together and covering them with ash. The roaring, cheerful blaze dies down to a soft, pulsing red heart, and the cottage is plunged into a world of deep shadows. Your mother lights a single tallow candle, its small flame creating a tiny, fragile pool of light, and places it on the chest near the sleeping alcove. The family gathers for nightly prayers, a ritual as familiar as breathing. You murmur the words together, Your voices a low hum in the quiet room. But tonight, the prayer for protection from the perils and dangers of the night feels especially poignant. When the prayer is finished, your parents turn to you and Reese. There are no special instructions, no last-minute warnings. They were all given this afternoon. Instead, your mother gives you a look of deep, steady trust, and your father offers Reese a solemn, man-to-man nod. "Good night to you both," your mother says softly. Then they turn and retreat to their own curtained bed on the other side of the room, leaving you and Reese standing in the flickering candlelight. The silence that descends is profound, broken only by the sigh of the wind outside the shutters and the soft snores of your brother, Tom, already fast asleep in his truckle bed. Reese looks at you, his face unreadable in the wavering light. He seems as nervous as you feel. Your mother's instructions echo in your mind. You go first. You nod towards the alcove, a silent, shy invitation. You slip behind the heavy wool curtain into the small, cold space. The single candle casts your shadow, long and distorted, against the wall. You move quickly, your fingers fumbling slightly, as you untie the laces of your outer kirtle and let it fall to the floor. You stand for a moment in your long linen shift, the cold air raising goosebumps on your arms. The bed is waiting, a landscape of hills and valleys under the heavy quilts. You can see the rigid line of the bundling board, a fortress wall down the centre. Taking a deep breath, you climb in, the ropes of the bed frame groaning in protest. The sheets are shockingly cold against your skin, and you burrow deep under the immense weight of the quilts, pulling them up to your chin. Your hand finds the bundling board beside you. It is smooth and solid, a comforting anchor in this sea of uncertainty. You run your fingers over the little chamomile flower he carved, a secret you both share. You lie there for a moment, your heart thumping against your ribs. Then you call out, your voice barely a whisper, "I am settled." You hear a rustle of movement from the other side of the curtain. After a moment, Reese appears in the opening. In the dim light, you see that he too has prepared for bed, wearing a simple linen shirt and breeches. He moves with a quiet reverence to the far side of the bed. He does not hesitate. He simply lies down on his side of the board, his movements careful and deliberate, and pulls his share of the quilts over him. The bed shifts and settles under his weight. For a long moment, you both lie there, stiff as carved effigies on a tomb, separated by a plank of oak. You are intensely aware of his presence, of his breathing, which seems impossibly loud in the silence. He is so close, yet so completely separate. He reaches a hand over the board, a gesture that makes your heart leap, and carefully pinches out the candle flame. You are plunged into an absolute velvety darkness. The last connection to the visible world is gone. Now there is only the sound of the wind, the distant breathing of your family, and his breath, right here in this small enclosed space with you. The silence stretches, growing heavier and more awkward with each passing second. What do you say? Where do you even begin? This is the moment you are told to use wisely, but your mind is a complete blank. He clears his throat softly. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. Then, from his side of the darkness, his voice comes, low and tentative. It is very dark. You almost laugh at the simplicity of it, the absurdity. "Yes," you whisper back. "It is." Another silence. Then you feel more than hear a quiet chuckle from his side of the board. "My apologies," he murmurs. I do not have many fine words, Ellen." "Nor I," you admit, a genuine smile in your voice. The shared admission of awkwardness is a key turning in a lock. The tension begins to drain away, replaced by something new, something quiet and shared. You are lying side by side, two people in the dark, staring up at a ceiling you cannot see. It was the strangest feeling, to be so completely separate, yet to be sharing the same small pocket of darkness and time. That first shared laugh in the darkness is like a spark in dry tinder. It catches, and from it, a tiny flickering flame of conversation begins to grow, pushing back the immense, awkward silence. The darkness, which at first felt like a barrier, now feels like a cloak, granting you both a kind of freedom you have never known. There is no need to watch your expression, no need to worry about a misplaced gesture. There are only your voices, disembodied and honest in the shared quiet. I have always wondered, you begin, your voice a soft whisper, what it is you are thinking when you work with the stones. You seem so far away. He is quiet for a moment, and you wonder if you have been too bold. But then he answers, his voice thoughtful. I am listening, he says. That is what my father taught me. Every stone has a grain, a nature, a way it wants to lie. If you try to force it, it will fight you. It will never sit right. But if you listen, if you look for its strengths, it will tell you where it belongs. It's like finding the answer to a riddle. You picture him in your mind, turning a stone over in his hands, his brow furrowed in that focused way you have come to know so well. You are not just seeing a labourer anymore. You are seeing an artist, a philosopher of stone. Like the hawthorn for the spoon, you murmur, almost to yourself. Yes, he says, his voice full of a sudden warmth. Exactly like that. Some wood is for strength, like oak. Some is for beauty, like applewood. But hawthorn is for promises. The words hang in the air between you, a gift. In return, he asks a question of you. And you, with your herbs and your garden, what is your favourite? The one that holds the most meaning for you? You don't have to think for long. The rosemary, you say. My mother says it is for remembrance, but she also says it is for loyalty, for keeping a home safe and a heart true. When I brush against it, the scent clings to my hands all day. It feels like a quiet promise to myself, to be steady, to be dependable. In this way, trading stories like small, precious coins, you begin to build a bridge across the wooden wall that separates you. He tells you about his grandfather, a man who was famous for his singing voice and could charm the birds from the trees. You tell him about a time you got hopelessly lost in the woods as a child and were led home by the sound of the church bell. These are not grand tales, but small polished stones of memory offered up as tokens of trust. Then he asks the question that changes the tenor of the night, dropping it softly into the darkness. What is it you hope for, Ellen, in your life? His use of your name, so direct and earnest, makes your heart skip a beat. You think for a moment, not of girlish fantasies of castles and princes, but of the real tangible things that make up a life. I hope for a good fire, you begin slowly, and a roof that doesn't leak, a pantry that is full in February. I hope for healthy children, with my eyes and a steady hand for their work. You falter, embarrassed by your own boldness. I hope to be a good wife, to be a comfort to my husband. Those are good hopes, he says gently, his voice full of respect. They are the best hopes. And you, Reese? You ask, feeling braver now. What are your hopes? They are much the same, he confesses. I do not wish to be a great lord. I wish to be a good mason. I want to build my own house, not a large one, just a small, sturdy one, with a hearth of river stones that will keep my family warm. I want to have a small plot of land, enough for a cow and for my wife to have a garden. He pauses, and his voice grows even quieter. I want to be a man my father can be proud of, and a man his wife can be proud of too. I want to die in the same bed I was born in, surrounded by the sound of my own grandchildren playing by the fire. You are struck by the simple, profound beauty of his dream. It is a mirror of your own, built of the same humble, sturdy materials. Security, family, peace. In the light of day, these might seem like small ambitions. But here, in the honest dark, they feel like the most important things in the world. This is the verifiable history of the human heart, the quiet, universal desire for a safe harbour. The conversation flows on, meandering into fears. He worries about the blight that struck the wheat 2 years ago. You confess your fear of harsh winters. You share these vulnerabilities, and with each one, the wooden board between you seems to shrink in significance. It is still a physical barrier, uncrossed and respected, but the emotional distance between you has vanished. You are no longer just Ellen, the daughter of the farmer, and Reese, the son of the mason. You are two souls, stripped of your public roles, sharing the same small space, the same hopes, the same fears. Eventually, the words trail off. A silence falls again, but this time it is not empty or awkward. It is full and peaceful, a comfortable blanket woven from all the words you have shared. You can hear his breathing, slow and even now. He may even be asleep. You lie there, warm and safe under the heavy quilts, and you realize that you know him better now, after these few hours in the dark, than you did after a lifetime of seeing him across the village green. It's a strange and wondrous thought. That true knowledge of another person doesn't always need light to grow. In the warm, quiet dark, you drift on the edge of sleep. The hopes and fears you have shared with Reese seem to weave themselves into the fabric of your dreams. A profound sense of peace settles over you, a feeling of rightness that warms you from the inside out. His slow, steady breathing from the other side of the oak board is a lulling rhythm, a sound of pure safety. The world has been reduced to this small, warm space, a sanctuary of shared secrets and quiet trust. But then, a new sound begins to intrude. It starts subtly, a low moan in the chimney, a soft keening as the wind shifts direction and presses against the shutters. You are used to the sounds of the wind, but this is different. It has an edge, a rising, insistent voice that speaks of something more than just a passing breeze. It is a lonely, hungry sound. You shift slightly under the heavy quilts, your peaceful drowsiness beginning to recede. From the other side of the board, Reese's breathing pattern changes. You know, without seeing, that he is awake too, listening. The wind's low moan escalates into a howl, rattling the wooden bolt on the cottage door. Then comes the rain. It does not begin with a gentle patter. It arrives in a sudden, violent sheet, as if a bucket has been upended over your small house. The sound on the thatched roof is a frantic, deafening drumming. It is no longer a lullaby, it is an assault. The historical truth of your home's fragility feels suddenly, terrifyingly real. It is a good, sturdy cottage, but it is made of wood and daub and straw, a tiny, vulnerable shell against the vast, angry power of the night. A brilliant blue-white flash of lightning suddenly illuminates the cottage, penetrating the gaps in the shutters. For a split second, the world is starkly visible. You see the rough texture of the wall, the dark outline of the curtain, and the rigid, unmoving line of the bundling board between you. In that silent, ghostly moment, you see Reese's face, his eyes wide, looking not at you, but up at the roof, listening. The image is instantly erased by a deafening crack of thunder. It is not a distant rumble. It is a violent physical explosion of sound directly overhead. The very floorboards seem to vibrate, and a piece of dried herb is dislodged from the rafters, falling silently onto the quilt. You cannot help it. A small, sharp gasp of fear escapes your lips. The storm is not just outside. It feels as if it is inside the room with you. In that moment of pure primal fear, your first instinct is for comfort, for closeness, for the simple human reassurance of another's touch. Your whole body tenses with the desire to move, to shrink away from the terrifying noise, to cross the small, forbidden space that separates you from the only other conscious soul in the world. It would be so easy. A small shift, a hand reaching out in the dark, but you do not move. And, more importantly, he does not move. The moment stretches, fraught with tension. Then, his voice cuts through the roar of the storm. It is not loud, but it is incredibly steady. A low, calm anchor in the chaos. "It is only the storm, Ellen," he says. "The house is strong. We are safe." His words are a greater comfort than any touch could have been. He is not just calming you, he is reminding you of his promise. His promise to build a safe house, to be a man of character, to be a rock. And in this moment, he is. The storm rages, but the small sanctuary he creates with his voice is stronger. Slowly, you reach out your hand, not across the space, but down, until your palm is resting flat against the smooth, solid oak of the bundling board. It is a silent gesture of acknowledgement, of gratitude. After a moment, you feel a faint vibration, and you know, with absolute certainty, that on the other side of that wooden wall, his hand rests in the very same spot. You are not touching. You are separated by an inch of his own handiwork, his own honor, and yet you have never felt more connected. The board, the symbol of your separation, has become your point of contact, a conduit for your shared courage. You lie there like that for a long time, listening to the tempest rage outside. You hear the rain finding a small gap in the thatch, a tiny persistent drip starting in the far corner of the room. Your father will have to fix that tomorrow. But the sound is no longer terrifying. Reese's quiet, steady presence has transformed the fear into a shared experience. This small cottage, your home, has become a fortress for two. He's given you more than just reassurance. He's given you his peace, a far more precious gift. As the hour grows later, the heart of the storm passes. The violent roar of the rain softens to a steady drumming, then to a gentle patter. The thunder, having shouted itself hoarse, now mutters and grumbles far off in the distance. A deep, profound quiet settles over the world once more. A quiet that is clean and new, washed by the rain. The test is over. A trust that has been weathered through a storm is a trust made of something stronger than mere words. It is the kind of foundation upon which a life can be safely built. The deep, peaceful sleep that finally claims you is dreamless and profound. When you wake, it is not to a sound, but to a subtle shift in the quality of the light. The oppressive darkness has thinned to a soft, pearlescent grey. Dawn is approaching. You can hear the first tentative chirps of a robin outside, its song a clear, liquid note in the quiet air. The world feels new, washed clean by the storm. You turn your head and can just make out Reese's silhouette against the growing light. He is awake, lying still and looking towards the curtain. The tension of the night, the fear of the storm, has been replaced by a deep and settled calm. You have passed the test. You weathered the tempest together, separated by a wall of oak, and the trust between you is now as strong and solid as the board itself. Without a word, you both understand it is time. The night is over. The day is beginning. You slip out of your side of the bed, the cold air a sharp shock after the warmth of the quilts. You quickly pull on your kirtle, your fingers moving surely as you tie the laces. On the other side of the bed, you hear Reese doing the same. When you are both dressed, you look at each other across the bed, now just a piece of furniture again. In the gentle morning light, you can see his face clearly for the first time since yesterday. His hair is rumpled from sleep, and his eyes are full of a soft, wondrous light. He gives you a small, shy smile, and you return it, a perfect, unspoken understanding passing between you. Together, you lift the bundling board from the bed and lean it carefully against the wall, its duty honourably discharged. You part the curtain and step back into the main room. The air is chilly, but your mother is already awake, coaxing a new flame from the embers in the hearth. The fire crackles to life, spitting sparks and casting a warm, welcoming glow. Your father is sitting at the table, a mug of steaming water in his hands. They both look up as you emerge, followed by Reese. There are no questions in their eyes, no hint of suspicion. There is only a quiet, knowing respect. They can see the change in you both, the easy calm, the deep, unshakable bond that was forged in the dark. Reese knows he must not linger. The custom is clear. His presence was for the night, a sanctioned intimacy to foster connection, not for the cosy domesticity of a morning meal. He gives a respectful nod to your parents. "Thank you for your hospitality," he says, his voice still a little rough with sleep. "I will take my leave now." He moves towards the door, but your father's voice stops him. "One moment, lad." Your father rises from the table and stands before the door, blocking the exit. He looks at Reese, then at you. "Come here, Ellen," he says, his voice gentle but firm. You walk forward and stand beside Reese, your heart beginning to beat a little faster. You know what this is. This is the final step. Your mother leaves the fire and comes to stand nearby, her hands clasped, her face glowing with quiet joy. Your father looks at Reese. His expression is no longer the stern, testing one of a prospective father-in-law. It is the warm, accepting look of a man welcoming a son. "You have proven yourself an honourable man, Reese, son of Dafydd," he says formally. "You have respected my daughter and my home. You have weathered the storm with courage. You have my deepest respect." He turns to you. "And you, my daughter, have shown wisdom and grace." He reaches out and takes your right hand. Then he takes Reese's right hand. "In the eyes of God and of this family," he says, his voice thick with emotion, "I ask you, Reese, do you take this woman, Ellen, as your intended wife? Do you promise to cherish her, to work for her, and to build a life with her?" Reese's eyes never leave yours. They are shining with unshed tears of happiness. "I do," he says, his voice full of a conviction that resonates deep in your soul. Your father then looks at you. "And do you, Ellen, take this man, Reese, as your intended husband? Do you promise to honour him, to be a comfort to him, and to build a life with him?" "I do," you whisper, your voice catching in your throat. Your father solemnly places your hand into Reese's. His hand is warm and strong, and the feeling of his palm against yours, of his fingers closing around yours, is the most wonderful, intimate feeling in the world. After a night of careful separation, this simple touch is a revelation. It is a promise. "Then be bound to one another," your father declares, his voice ringing with finality, in heart and in hand, until the church makes you one. This is your betrothal, your hand fasting, a bond as true and binding as any vow sworn on an altar. The courtship is over. The journey to marriage has begun. Rhys squeezes your hand gently, and with his other hand, he reaches out and lightly touches the tip of the hawthorn love spoon, which you realize you tucked into your apron belt this morning, without even thinking. A smile spreads across his face, a smile of pure, unadulterated joy. A smile that began with a glance across a green, was nurtured by a fire, and was finally sealed by a storm in the dark. He reluctantly releases your hand, gives a final, grateful nod to your parents, and steps out into the glorious, rain-washed morning. You watch him go, no longer a suitor, but your future, walking into the dawn. And so, your story for tonight finds its peaceful harbour, leaving you on the threshold of a new day, with the warmth of a promise still tingling in your hand. The quiet rituals of a time long past, the carving of a spoon, the telling of secrets to the bees, the careful placement of a wooden board, all serve to build a foundation of trust, stone by steady stone. In the dark, in the quiet, a love was given the space to grow strong and true, tested not by grand gestures, but by the simple, profound challenge of honour. As you stand in the doorway of that small cottage, with the scent of wet earth and new beginnings all around you, let that sense of peace and rightness settle over you now. Let the gentle cadence of this whispered history slow your thoughts and soften your breathing. All the cares of your day can now fade, like the storm passing in the night, leaving only a deep and restful quiet. There is nothing left to do but to let go, to drift on the gentle tide of sleep, and to awaken in your own new morning, feeling restored and at peace. Sleep well.